This is Bestow, part 3 of our playtest. And last session, we kind of left off in the night phase. We had some echoes in time for the group of maybe some happier times in the house and connections to Uncle here, um, to the uncle. And we're going to basically pick up in the day phase. But if any of the siblings here want to kind of pick up back where they were in any way, I'm going to let you all frame up those scenes. We do have a couple questions. We have one question on the table, actually, which is what entity is bound to the family and why has the elder summoned it, which is complexity 4. Answering that lets you learn the name and form of the entity which your family line holds an ancient pact with. And it also lets you reduce the complexity of this final question by 2, which we don't actually have yet.
And quick question, by the way. So the clues we did not use during Act 1, can we just...
those carry over, for sure.
For just my convenience, I'm going to copy them
onto thanks. Yeah. And this is a playtest. It's a developing game. So in the meantime, B and I have changed a couple things. We're just going to sort of tack that onto this playtest and sort of front load a few more clues. So the siblings all have some other background questions that in maybe the next version of this you will get sooner. But now we're just going to let you answer those and add them as more clues. Kind of gave that to you last minute, but be thinking about that maybe somewhere between our in our first break or somewhere early on. You can tell us what those are, in or out of character. But yeah, starting the next day, could be early in the morning, could be middle of the night. Who would like to start off? Where do we see you?
I think Isaac is still where we previously saw him, which is just like I believe it was like the living room, right? Like it was with where Damien was, like had holding a glass and taking a drink when the question of like where's Rowan came up, and gets this like not quite a sinking feeling, but he's got a lot going on in his head. I think he sets the drink down to the side and just starts like moving down to the basement. Like he's just because like Rowan was talking about the basement of the tunnels, and now he has this bad feeling, and like not with like panic in his face that Damien might notice, but it's almost like this like intensity of like of like focus, of direction, of like responsibility, bam, going in that direction.
And I think bouncing off of that, he's like, where are you going?
And Isaac doesn't answer. He's just moving. He doesn't even hear Damien. Like it's so peripheral that it gets drowned out with his own thoughts.
And Damien's just like, what the fuck? And like kind of watches where you go, sees you go down into the basement, and stops there. And just stops at the top of the stairs. Because he never liked the basement. So he's just not really going to follow you.
Who do we see next?
Honestly, I think that if we're kind of picking up there, I think that Rosemary has just kind of gone up to her bedroom, or what used to be her bedroom, and is just kind of wanting to see exactly what is up there and kind of, I guess, get ready for bed. She is not in the mind frame that she is going to be spending any more time with the family tonight at this point. She's very much ready for a little bit of solitude, I think, and to perhaps reflect on some of the happier memories that she might have had up here. So
real quick, do we as a group want to continue with it being night, or are you more interested in cutting forward to the next morning? Whatever you're
I'm
feeling.
still interested in being the same night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah. We'll come back to the room description. And then Rowan, as far as we know, you're in the tunnels.
Yeah, I think where we left Rowan, they were following the tunnels to wherever they lead, sort of surrounded by this gurgling, moving voice in the walls, and kind of walking through this trail of pond scum.
That's right. And you use the spotlight move, I think, last session, which kind of revealed that to you that this entity has a connection to the water and doesn't like to be far from it or something like that. And I think you will actually probably sense if you're following the pond scum, that distant gurgling, that sound of water, the water will get louder. You'll realize you can approach a source of water. If you continue down that road, do you continue just on your own in the tunnels? Or does Isaac need to catch up with you himself?
Don't worry about Isaac.
Not that you know that.
I think certainly Rowan is continuing through the tunnels, but I think if Isaac does descend into the basement, he would see like the entrance to the tunnels open and perhaps hear very faintly Rowan's footsteps echoing.
Yeah. Now that we've kind of got you all situated, I'll go back. So we'll go back to Rosemary up in one of the rooms. Let's see here, guest rooms. I think because this is the thing you would already know. Do you want to give us just like one or two details of what your room was like, and then I will add something on top of it?
I feel like Rosemary's room as a child is probably carried over a little bit into her adulthood. I mentioned that she was quite a florally person, and I think that she has taken a room that supposedly Uncle Virgil's lost love took a really had a really big hand in like doing up and everything. Maybe if we're going to really add to some heartbreak, maybe this was going to be a nursery of some kind. And so this was like a really well done up room, and it's almost a little bit childish, I think. Like, I think the curtains have got flowers on them. There's like little splashes of pink and also splashes of blue, because obviously we don't know, and all of that. And I think like everything in I think it's quite a small room. And I think that Rosemary, often feeling overlooked, just automatically went into the smallest room anyway. And she kind of liked to keep it as like her little like almost cupboard like space. It's just got like a bed and a small dresser, and probably it still will have a lot of Rosemary's cuddly toys in there, just kind of like neatly lined up together. Missing only one bright blue one, which is her favorite, that was lost somewhere in the garden. Nice.
Love that. I love the connection there. Just a quick nod to our safety tab as far as a room that could be a nursery. We have a line on any sort of pregnancy, miscarriage, abortion topics, so we're just gonna skirt around that. But I will say the weird thing going into this room, it's as you've described, except every piece of furniture has meticulously been turned upside down in the exact same place, lined up. It's just been flipped upside down. Even the bed and the mattress, the sheets.
She just looks stunned for a moment. Just to get some clarification, upside down, as it's still on the floor, but it's just upside down, or that it's all on the ceiling?
Let's say it's still on the floor.
Okay.
We won't go quite that weird yet.
Yeah, I just like, how weird are we at the moment? So I think she kind of just looks momentarily very confused, takes like a really big sweeping look of the room, and I love the idea that the dresser is like upside down and it's got its like little legs sticking out, but like the teddies are still lined up, like maybe also positioned upside down on their heads on top of it. And she's like, okay, very funny, Damien. And then I think she takes the duvet, she like tugs it from under the bed. And I think she basically starts to build herself like a little nest in the middle of the room with the blankets and the pillows, because there's no way she's gonna sort all this out today. So she's like, I'm going to bed. I've had enough of Damien's shit. She doesn't think that this is supernatural. She thinks that this is
great.
This is Damien.
Yeah, probably is. That's great. Well, we'll come back to you there.
You're like, what? Like you hear like that from downstairs.
Damien, where do you respond? Where do we see you go?
I'm going upstairs. I just heard my
Great.
name. I like you see him pause at this fucking top of the staircase. That is the to the basement where Isaac just left. Rude. And here's you, and I don't know if maybe even Rowan's footsteps, because we're pretty far away. It's still pretty dark. You know what? Isaac has it. Isaac always has it. He has everything. I'm gonna go upstairs and see why Rosemary's yelling my name. What did I do this time? And so scurry up, kind of like, oh god, I heard that noise again. Oh geez.
You've been up here earlier, right?
I
believe.
Yep. Was up here earlier. Didn't like what I heard. Was very bad actually for me. But we're gonna go find Rosemary's room instead.
You go up the stairs. Again, we've described sort of a winding hallway. You turn towards where Rosemary's room would be, and the hallway turns the other way now.
What?
This is not the layout that you remember. You know this house. I would like the night move for Damien here. What are you afraid might go wrong if you don't hold it together?
I'm afraid I'm going to be lost. Like, this is... I'm afraid I'm going to get, like, super lost, like, irrevocably lost in a house I lived in.
Yeah, and not only that, you could hurt yourself, is a condition you have. So we're going to put you at disadvantage.
What if I do something fucking wild right now?
Yeah.
Which is, if I use the spotlight move, took you long enough.
Oh, nice.
You can show up in any scene at just the right moment without explaining how you got there. When you do so, describe how you assist the sibling present in the scene to give them advantage on a single roll. And I will note, as I just went into the basement after Rowan, when Isaac suddenly, maybe inexplicably, like comes from like around a corner, maybe out of a door, he looks like haggard, like he hasn't like showered in like 3 days. Like it's like it looks like he has like scruff now. Like there is like time has passed.
Weird.
For him.
Nice.
Yeah, and I think he very quickly runs out to like grab you by the shoulders and says, "Don't look to the left. Follow me."
Okay. What the? Weren't you just downstairs?
So that
dragged along.
Yeah, evens out the disadvantage.
All right.
Let's say this is still sensitivity. This is something super weird.
Yeah, like the weirdest. Okay, that's an 8.
Okay. We will come back to you with the 8.
I saw that move and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll use it on Rowan." And then you started describing that. I'm like, "What if I just
help your younger brother?" Seems appropriate. Rowan, down in the tunnels, you hear that water. I think based on like your last spotlight move with, not being in immediate danger from whatever entity this is, we'll kind of just let you come across another location here and then see what you'd like to do. I think the tunnel after kind of dipping, winding a little bit, these dripping limestone walls, it kind of curves up again and comes out overlooking an underground chamber. And you see kind of faint light from a crack in the ground above, or maybe the stone, looking down, shining down on this large, flat, almost like stone altar. This is across from a large pool of water, and you found the secret location, the grotto.
I mean, all them secret locations.
Oh yeah. To get closer, you're gonna have to like get in the water if you would like to go see that altar. Otherwise, you would have to go back out the way you came.
Oh, absolutely. I think there isn't really any hesitation on Rowan's part even. They just begin to wade in the water. We see their like wide-legged pants like filling with this scummy water.
Nice.
And they approach the altar.
Yeah, and I've confused myself on the description here. This is basically another way into the swimming hole. I might need to like revisit the phrasing here, but like this is a weird underground tunnel going into the swimming hole from another side. So you can kind of get some of that light from above, from the surface of the pool. To swim through this weird space, though, I think it will be the day move. What are you afraid could go wrong here?
Rowan is afraid that somehow this isn't what Uncle Harlow wanted them to come here to do. Because if I can answer my family secret question
nice, yeah.
now, Rowan knew the elder had ulterior motives for this little family reunion because back when Uncle Harlow, Uncle Virgil, started to warm to Rowan suddenly, and they came up with that sort of pigeon sign language they used to communicate in. He would always tell Rowan that there would come a day when Rowan and their siblings would have to come back to the house without the elder being here, and that it would be Rowan's special job to make sure they get what is intended for them, to make sure they take their medicine. And Rowan wants to do that. I mean, they want to be good. They've always been thought of as a bad influence on Rosemary, on Damien, and they want to be good for a change.
Yeah. At some point, if you are able to write that as a clue, distill that into a clue, that is going to count as a clue. It's kind of open-ended. But in the meantime, building off of that, you have the condition just have to look, or innocence lost, honestly. Either one I think will count as disadvantage here. And this will be with vitality.
Okay. Disadvantage, vitality. Sounds good. It is still a 10. I rolled 3 5s.
Wow, this just seems like fate. It's dramatic. Yeah, you get across. Maybe it's one of those things where like we as the viewer are wondering if we're seeing like some kind of shapes or some kind of shadow or something in the water. Rowan doesn't notice, does not affect Rowan. Rowan swims right across, climbs out, and you can now see the scattered remains of a ritual that would have been performed on this altar. We're going to come back to on that, but I will leave you a paint scene question. How can you tell the elder came close to succeeding at their ritual? And I will also, when we come back to I'm just going to introduce that final question because you've found this location. It seems pretty appropriate. There's going to be a question related to that the group can answer. Okay, let's say, let's go back to Isaac and Damien real quick. Damien, you rolled an 8 with Isaac's help. You didn't turn, left or wherever it was. And I think instead you, maybe that reassuring hand on your shoulder kind of settle a little bit. Maybe you kind of look and you look back and things are back how you remember them. Reality almost reasserts itself. And you're able to kind of continue on towards Rosemary's voice if you want to.
Yeah, is Isaac still, you're still here, right?
Yeah, and Isaac looks like tired, like he breathed this like heavy sigh of relief, like head tilting down. Like, oh, thank God. Oh, thank God.
Are you all right? What happened to you? Did you just run up here? Didn't even hear you.
No, just it's not. I don't know how to answer that. Sorry, just I'll explain later. Just for now, we need to go check on our sister, see if she's okay.
Yeah, that was the plan. I thought you were going to go find Rose. No, we're finding Rosemary. I thought you were going to go find Rowan.
That's where I think I am right now.
No.
No,
What?
I went downstairs.
Yes.
And I lost track of Rowan. The tunnels, they confused me. I don't know what happened. I got distracted and then I wandered for a while. I think I stopped to sleep at one point. I drank water out of a shallow pool I found and almost threw up. It was I don't know how to explain it to you right now, okay? So just trust me when I say something is bad and we need to make sure that your sister's okay.
Okay, and now you have a hand on your shoulder. We're going to go to Rosemary's room and you're going to sit down.
Do you remember the story I told you about that Uncle told me? And this is where I'm revealing my inheritance.
Nice.
As he mutters, because I've had this for a while. So my inheritance prompt was a family story that your elder told you and only you. What was it and why was it so important? Which sibling did you share it with? So in this case, I'm establishing it was Damien. And it was a family story, like from like, you know, like an ancestor, like long past, from the time of like, you know, like the coal miners, like, right, like frontier, like rugged, like Appalachian early colony shit. And it was like a Harlow ancestor in this story who was trekking across harsh wilderness with nothing but a lamp, and basically was just like trekked miles of hostile dark wilderness, burning everything that he could find to keep the flame lit and keep the darkness of the night at bay. He traveled across miles in one dark, awful night, including like parts of his own like clothing, and like he burned everything he could find to keep the darkness at bay. And the reason why Isaac brings this up now, and like he's like something, right, you know, he's re-bringing this up. I think what I'm gonna do with the inheritance, because it's like it's item or clue. In this case, I'm thinking I'm gonna have it be a clue.
Nice.
And the clue in that case is this detail that stuck with him from the story, which was the way that their uncle and maybe even like their predecessors in this family story would have described it before. Is it was like the way the darkness is described is like particularly noteworthy. Like the darkness is decay and the darkness is void. I don't know how to phrase this, but like basically the idea being that like literally like the concept of like this decaying darkness, like the darkness is almost spoken of in the story as like a thing that's literally eating away and rotting at the environment around this guy in the story. And we previously were like, oh, that's such like a metaphorical concept for this survivalist kind of endeavor. but it's almost like, wait, no, the darkness is literally like a rot. Like there's something about this that's like decay. Bringing it back to like what we were thinking about with like the whole like tooth metaphor stuff.
Oh god.
There's something to do with like the darkness and the disorientation and the fact that the darkness is like alive and manipulative. I don't know. I don't know how to phrase that as a clue. But that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, we'll come back to that when you sit down, all right. And he's just like, Rosemary! To make sure and like ends up at your doorway, kind of like almost pushing, dragging Isaac. Even if Isaac is coming willingly, Damien is like scurrying. Because this is not his job. He doesn't want it to be his job. Maybe Rosemary can make this. And so yeah, that's who shows up in your doorway. And everything is upside down.
I don't know that Rosemary's gonna make this better. Okay, well, I mean, if you're showing up in my doorway, I also wanted to take the moment to reveal my inheritance, so I feel like this is the perfect time to do it. I think that while all this has been going on, she hasn't been paying attention. Even if you've been making a lot of noise in the corridor or anything, she's not really been paying attention because she's been kind of lost in her own thoughts and her own kind of surroundings. And I think that given the argument and given her situation, I think that she's probably begun to cry. And kind of like pull the blankets around her, kind of sitting on the floor crying. And as she does, she kind of goes through her bag and pulls out like a small locked box. And like her hand is shaking, and she takes a key and she begins to unlock it. And she thinks back to a time where she was with the elder, with Uncle Virgil, and he was telling her a story about his wife, and telling her a story and framing it that this is what true love looks like. This is what true selfless love looks like. And I think he was probably actually telling her the story about like the teeth in the jar. And rather than being frightened to see them, she'd been more curious than anything. And he kind of told her that the reason that the teeth in the jar looked shiny and perfect, even though they were very, very old, is a sign that he's still loved by his dead wife, even after she's gone. And she shakingly unlocks this locked box, and she pulls out 2 teeth from it. One from her first husband and one from Felix, and they're rotting in her hands. And like briefly just like reminisces on like the way she felt when Felix came out the bathroom and was like, hey babe, I think my tooth is wobbling, and the way that her face fell, because she knew in that moment that meant that she had not found that selfless love that she wanted. And she's like hysterical looking at these 2 teeth and holding this box. And she's probably about to smash the box on the floor. Then she looks up and she sees the 2 of you in the doorway. She's just got 2 teeth in one hand and a box and the keys kind of like discarded nearby.
Are you good?
They're rotting.
Okay. Oh my. For a second, I want you both to know, all of you to know, that he considers shoving Isaac in the room and shutting the door and leaving. Okay.
They're rotting? Whose teeth are those, Rosemary?
You're going to think that I sound insane, but
Go ahead.
This is Felix's tooth. I didn't do this. And she starts to like wipe her eyes and she kind of like puts it back and she's like, this box I was supposed to put. Uncle told me to put the teeth of my true love in this box, but they're rotting, which means it's not true love. I didn't do this. He started losing his teeth. They always bloody start losing their teeth. And she kind of like keeps wiping her eyes and then sits back. And she just looks exhausted, actually.
Okay.
Let's cut over to Rowan real quick. Give you a second to think about that.
Rowan's doing.
Could be a reassurance move opportunity or something else. I don't know. Yeah, you do keep making. I mean, congratulations. I love it. Keeps getting weirder. Rowan, back at this altar, how can you tell that Uncle Virgil came close to succeeding at some kind of ritual here?
I think that as Rowan is wading through the pool, it's shallow enough at first for their feet to touch the ground, but then as they get closer to the altar, the ground sort of gives way, and there's like a deep pit underneath kind of the center of the space from which the altar kind of rises like a jagged tooth. And the water near the altar, I think, feels very warm, like there's an energy to it and a subtle ebb and flow. Like there's the thought that Rowan has is that it feels like there's something down below breathing, but raggedly, like it's sick. Not dead yet, but not quite living either.
This ties in great. I'm going to just add this final question opportunity the group now has. Still kind of play testing how this comes about. I have one sort of timer way this gets introduced, but I think the other way is going to be situationally, like you've come across this, so I think it makes the most sense. You have another question. Both of these are optional, but what ritual did the elder set in motion and how is your presence essential to it? Complexity 6. Learn the form and purpose of the elder's ritual and disrupt it permanently by confronting the entity, destroying something necessary to its completion, or stopping anyone from finishing it. There's more wrinkles to that which may come up, but if you answer that first question about the entity, that will reduce this to complexity 4. So they're all kind of connected. What do you do, Rowan, standing in front of this strange setting?
I like the idea that, unbeknownst to Rowan, of course, but simultaneous to Rosemary somewhere upstairs in the house talking about her ex-husband's teeth rotting, Rowan feels something like loosen in the back of their own mouth and then spits a tooth into their hand. And then sort of like coughs and splutters, tries to cry out and realizes their voice is gone. Again.
No. Unless you have a different idea of a thing you want to try to do, I think it would make sense to give you the echo in time for this location. Based on that. Okay, I'm gonna share that with you as a private message so you can get back to you to answer that. And then we'll cut back to the others.
I have a thought.
Hey,
Damien pauses and he goes, he's like looking at the teeth in your hand. Remember how I told you all the tooth fairy was real and it lived in the woods?
What?
When I was little. I said the tooth fairy was real and lived in the woods, and you all thought I was just making things up because I did all the time. But I wasn't lying, I don't think. I don't think it was the tooth fairy. That doesn't make any sense. But I did. I think I gave it my baby teeth, and it took it. And when I ran out of those or didn't have them, I gave them animal teeth. It liked it. And this is me using my family secret, which is, how do you know that your family is connected to a dark entity? Why does no one else believe you? And so I think it's all that. You're looking at me like I'm crazy.
He has a despairing look on his face for a moment, just like swallow something, and he's looking, and he just says, "No, you are wrong about one thing. I believed you. I just told you that I didn't." Hey, I'm gonna reverse card because I'm gonna also use my family secret, but also incorporate my flashback I need to narrate from the family legacy, which
Wow,
my family,
nice.
which is narrative flashback to a time you witnessed something as a child, but no one believed you. And then I unlocks an additional thing, but I'm also going to wrap my secret into this. But the flashback itself is, as Isaac says this, like, we cut back to the past and we see like a younger Isaac. This was from around the time when Damien was probably like a newborn, like when like this was like something that like would not remember, or maybe just too young, you know, to really adequately acknowledge anything, sometime before the experience Damien just described. And he was out in the woods just playing as a kid when he heard what sounded like a groaning, like a keening, like soft, like moan, but like muffled. And when he went to investigate, he found a circle in the forest that at first, you know, looked like a pretty standard mushroom fairy circle kind of thing. But as he got closer, he realized that it was sort of like a filthy earthen orifice with cracked, bloody gums and teeth that stuck out of it, like up in the sky, and kind of like a fairy circle like formation. And it was the source of the keening moan. When he ran to tell like someone about it, maybe it was uncle, or maybe at the time their parents were alive, who knows, just somebody, he was just told, oh no, there is just some weird looking funguses out in the woods, like it's not actually teeth, it's like there, you know. And it was definitely some kind of skewered that way. Cut to sometime later with my family secret. How do you know that your elder was involved in occult rituals? What evidence of this did the elder make you promise to keep secret? It was sometime after that experience. This was probably around the time just before Damien's experience happened. This is what is the prelude to Isaac saying to Damien that he was making it up, right? Is that Uncle had come back from the forest at one point, and Uncle rarely left the house, and this was a surprisingly like lucid moment, and was carrying a bag full of something that just rattled slightly, and his hands were caked in blood. And he was muttering to himself, and he later decided to spy on the uncle later that night and caught him laying out series of bloody, freshly ripped out of their roots teeth, and was grinding them up in like this like fucking like metal, like one of those old like 1960s like meat grinders. So it was just like sounded like a fucking bingo ball machine the way that the teeth were rattling around in there, but then crunching and coming out as like dust and forming some sort of like literal toothpaste. And was using it to like daub these like weird like markings in different like places while muttering. And basically like when discovered, Uncle made Isaac be like, you need to like, you know, it's like, you're not going to speak of this ever again. I will show you, you know, I will show you my fucking belt if you dare talk about this or try to spy on me again. And you need to make sure none of your siblings go play in that part of the woods, and dissuade them and keep them busy. And if I catch you, or if I catch them, it's going to be bad. It was very abusive, but very much like laid is like, you need to like, this is bad. Like, but you're the responsible one. You need to keep Damien, especially Damien, because he's a curious little lad, out of this. So cut to Damien trying to tell siblings about this, and Isaac kind of cruelly just like really hitting him hard of being like, no, you're making it up. And like, and then I need you to do things like, I need you to help me clean. Like, you don't make up stories. Really was a shitty big brother to him, but it was all because he was beginning to panic and sweat because they're not supposed to go out there. He was supposed to keep that secret.
Oh shit.
I guess that counts as a clue.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Think about how you want to phrase that as a clue, but all the context here counts.
TLDR.
The gummy circle of teeth in the woods. There we go. The gummy circle.
Toothpaste grind.
Yeah, that's horrific. Actually, that's the worst.
Yeah, the gummy circle of teeth in the woods.
And I think as you're discussing this, Rosemary just says, I would have believed you. You're not the only one who saw things in the woods, you know. I didn't see a fairy or a creature. I saw Auntie Letty.
Isn't she dead?
She did say about teeth. She said, I fell. I tripped and I fell. And she said that my teeth would fall out if I wasn't careful.
Huh.
Where is Rowan?
Isaac?
As far as I know, Rowan is if very little time passed between when I went down there and when I met you upstairs here, I think they're probably still down there.
Oh, we should get them. They're fine usually, but we should maybe.
Oh, we should. We need to go now. If there's something here and it appeared differently to all of us, then we don't know what its intentions are.
Okay, I don't like the bait. Let's go. We can just.
We need to go. We need to find Rowan right now.
Okay.
And don't let each other out of your sight.
What are we supposed to do? Hold hands?
It might help.
Jesus.
Here's where the complication from Damien's role, from B's role comes in. As you're talking about this, there's sort of like again, flash of lightning. There's a flicker and the power goes out.
Oh,
Evil.
I think Rosemary just screamed. She's like, ah! God.
I'm nyctophobic.
Oh, yeah,
Isaac,
you're the one.
I'm the one with nyctophobia. I think I
That's
automatically
right.
triggered the night move, right? Because this is literally
into
my
it.
phobia, my
That's great
fear.
if you want.
Yeah.
Let's come back to let's set up the roll, then we'll go back to
Mhm.
Rowan. If you want to, I will.
No, I
follow
think
your lead
this
on that.
counts as
That's
me
fun.
facing my fear. Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
What are you afraid will go wrong if you can't hold it together here?
Well, I think that the darkness is coming back for me.
Yeah, and the way it's worse than that is you won't be there to save your brother.
Incredible.
I
Would any of my conditions get in the way here?
Gosh, everyone has a lot of conditions.
Yeah,
Let me
I'm
see.
so stacked.
God damn, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to remember where. I don't think any very specifically do here.
Okay.
They generally do. If you're interested, if you have ideas, I don't think any of them specifically do here.
I don't have any huge ideas for them, no.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, let's set up the roll and then we'll come back to it. See how you want to play it out. This would be composure, I think.
This is not a good roll territory to be in, but all right. Oh my god. That's an 11.
Hey. Wow. All right. You do keep it together. We'll come back to you all as you come looking for Rowan or whatever you want to do. Rowan, Elf, you could read us that echo and time prompt if you're ready.
Sure. The chamber is lit with torches. A figure stands in front of the flat stone altar, performing a ritual. We see a young Auntie Letty laid upon the altar. She is screaming, and as her mouth opens into this like horrified and horrifying wide O, we see that she is like completely toothless, her mouth full of blood, and that's sort of gurgling, mixing with her saliva, speckling the altar. And we see that the figure is holding her down and pouring something into her mouth. It's too dark to tell. But as it coats her throat, sinks into her, she begins calming somehow, speaking another language, something gurgling and deep and dark that sounds like it's coming from everywhere, echoing against the walls of the grotto. And then she sputters, she coughs. The figure stops for a moment. This isn't how it's supposed to go. This isn't the sacrifice. It's not working. And when Aunt Letty opens her mouth to scream again instead of sound, there's this like ragged sort of tearing sound as from her mouth like erupts this geyser of teeth that fall into the water next to the altar. Plink, 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 plink.
It keeps getting worse. I keep thinking this is as bad as it's gonna get. We keep going. Incredible. Yeah, again, echo in time. This has happened here before. We're just seeing it. We don't really know if this is a vision, if this is the past merging with the present. Rowan, however, in the present, I think I think there's that gurgling sound, and I think from who knows where, there's just a couple straight teeth that just fall onto the altar in front of you. And please take the condition marked for sacrifice.
So because I already have 3 conditions,
Mhm.
I presume that means I mark another family legacy box.
Yeah, and just swap, trade a condition you have for this one.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
I feel like
Jesus, great,
something
I
in the
wanna see
walls is
this.
probably less relevant now.
Yeah, you kind of follow that. That makes sense. Um, excellent. Okay, and that means you, just checking on the sheet here. Is that your second family legacy? Oh yeah, cool.
It is.
We can come back to that flashback if you but in the present, I guess you've had a lot of like these other scenes. What do you want to do?
If it's not too time and reality bending, I sort of like the idea that like the moment the lights go dark in the house, we see like maybe at the end of the corridor upstairs, Rowan is somehow emerging from the darkness. And in contrast to Isaac looking kind of haggard after whatever they experienced in the basement, Rowan looks like almost more youthful, like somehow their body is subtly regressing to their childhood.
Love that. So we just cut forward a little bit and you've made your way back into the house.
Yeah, and we can leave it ambiguous how they got there, yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I was just making sure you weren't triggering some other move. Incredible. Back to everyone else. I mean, there's been a lot of weird stuff going on. You've been talking about some pretty crazy stories here. Does anyone feel the need to do a reassurance move here, or do you want to just try to find Rowan? It's dark. You probably do need to hold hands, as was suggested, or something. Phone lights. I don't know.
I think like the implication of what Elle said is like we turn a corner and Rowan is like suddenly at the end of the hallway.
Ooh, yeah.
Like the lights are out. We're like, you know, hand to hand or shoulder to shoulder, you know, kind of like, you know, kindergartners holding onto a rope. And Rowan's just am I interpreting that correct?
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Lit by a bone. Yeah.
No, it's a
flash
random,
of light.
random thing I was typing.
Oh yeah, you're good. Yeah.
Oh my
Some
God.
kind of flash of light dramatically illuminating
Lightning. Just
them. Yep.
Of course, she's storming outside.
Damien nearly like fucking falls over onto one of you.
I think Rosemary probably like tries to catch him. I think that actually probably if we could maybe call for a reassurance move, I think that Rosemary is probably trying to be reassuring to her siblings. Like she's figuring at this point that Isaac is he seems to be doing okay, considering that it's dark, but I think she would know that he's frightened of the dark.
He's holding it together, but he's still like very clearly affected.
And I think she is holding his hand. Like it's like almost like this previous argument is completely forgotten because there's something bigger going on here. And they are family. And equally, she's got hold of Damien's shoulder because Damien did not seem quite so keen to hold hands. But I think that when he like almost trips and falls, she does like catch him to grab him. And she just kind of says like, whatever this is, we can fight it.
He squeezes her hand back, and he nods and he just says, everything's so muddled, but I think it's a trick. I think it's deceitful. I think it's trying to rot our minds so that we don't know how to face whatever's happening to us.
We need to focus. Let's find Rowan. And she kind of like tries to still her own breathing and probably like her own fear just to try to keep that sense of calm. And I would like to try to use the reassurance move, please.
Yeah, sounds good. Do you think you're up to you what if you feel like you're using kind of presence or your own composure here? I don't think there was like a lengthy rational explanation going on, so it can just be
I feel like
just the way you
composure.
described it. Yeah,
I feel like composure works. She's pretty composed, Rosemary,
sounds good.
somehow.
Yeah.
I rolled a 4 and a 5, which is 9 plus 2 for composure, so that's 11.
Nice.
Rosemary is just suddenly knows no fear.
Yeah. So on a 10 plus, we didn't do it like an extended explanation, but something here counts as a clue. So you can actually, if you all are all in the scene, because Damien and Isaac are here, you can define a clue together here, and you will all also get to either clear a relevant condition or refresh a bond.
I like the idea of clearing my condition and invocation, especially because I was saying that like he was saying something about like there it might be like there like something with the house or something with the darkness or whatever. It's trickery. It's like there's muddling his mind, and he's trying to like he's clearing his thoughts through that now with your help. Yeah.
So I feel like a clue here, like there's some kind of trickery or illusion or something like that.
The fact that we're all sharing stories that we've all seen some kind of like entity or had some like experience with something tooth related or seen something in the woods, but it is appearing to us in different forms or kind of, I guess, playing on our individual experiences and fears and things that are important to us. Like I think that in itself is a clue that we know that this thing is capable of like whatever it is, capable of like changing shape or changing form or like kind of being able to like trick us in that way, manipulative in some way, I think.
Yeah, I wrote down the entity is capable of changing form. That feels very right. You know, or changing or shifting reality. Which of the two do you think is correct? Because Isaac brought up some weird reality shifting stuff.
Oh, that's a good question. I can go either way on that one.
I mean, there was the instance where the hallway curved the wrong way, right? Which isn't necessarily tied to the entity, but could tie to its ability to change reality. So
change reality would encompass like all those things as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then so Isaac's clearing a condition. Damien, Rosemary, what about you? Condition or refresh a bond?
I will clear a condition.
So I'm going to refresh a bond with Rosemary because I feel like that's relevant here. So ooh, that is I believe okay, so to refresh a bond, let me double check.
You just re-roll it, replace
just re-roll it. Yeah, I'm just trying to remember how I roll a bond. There we go. Okay. Yes. It's much higher. It's 1 dice, yeah? Okay, yeah. I accidentally rolled 2. But it's a fuck it. It's a 6 now. Because that was the I was like, I feel like taking the high one. That's like
people like Rosemary again.
That just felt right. It felt like that got earned.
Yeah. Well, we've seen Rowan, this moment of seeing Rowan. I'm not quite clear if the rest of the group has spotted them yet, but do you all join up or something else happen here? I guess Elle, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Rowan kind of overhears them saying like we need to find Rowan and like all be together. And Rowan like comes around the corner and like gestures at their heart like to say like I'm right here, which might be hard to see in the dark, but we'll say that there's like a a strategically placed beam of light coming from a window, right?
Yeah, of course.
The lighting crew has you. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, the light through the slats in the wood or whatever, very dramatic light. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's thank God I didn't want to go down there. Okay. There they are. They're here. We don't have to go down to the basement.
Rowan, where the hell were you? What happened down there?
I think Rowan, with this like worried look on their face, looking even paler than usual, steps forward to Isaac and like grabs his hand. And you can feel in the palm of their hand like a handful of teeth, the teeth from the altar.
The teeth are going.
I think he makes this slightly disgusted sound, but like doesn't like react harshly. It's just kind of like almost like the inconvenient truth, you know? It like this despairing groan of just being like, we need to get out of here. We need to stop whatever's happening. It's going to keep making this worse, I think. Y'all, we got 10 clues.
Yeah.
I think we need to figure out what is happening. I think that we need to figure out what this thing is that is chasing us.
It's not like I'm looking at this, right? And it's like, yeah, we could answer that one, but aren't we able to just answer the other one as well? Because it's like, yeah, we could lower the complexity by 2, but even if we spent like, you know, only minimum 4 clues on the other one, you know, I think we have a higher chance of just throwing them all in on the second one with a massive stack number. But I am open to like to scattering them. I'm just saying like we could just throw them all in on the final one without learning its form or name or whatever, and just like going scorched earth or whatever. I don't know, whatever the group's interested in though.
Honestly, I'm good with either. I think we have enough clues to do both, but I also do think that like we could just do the end one most likely and still be okay because we have so many clues.
Yeah. I'm a little surprised by how, I mean, they're able to be generated really fast, but it's kind of cool as well if you have all these like different stories and we don't really solidify that. Like, are they all true? Are they different aspects of this? Like, does it matter?
I will say though, I do think a lot of our clues do relate to the entity, but they could be twisted in a way. But I'm open to doing either, to be honest.
Do we feel like we'll have time to answer the first question and get a few more clues for the second? Or because if it's a sort of question of pacing, then I'm totally fine with going for the final question and eschewing the second.
I think we could do either. I guess one thing is we've kind of extended the night phase here, which is fine. So we've kind of been building and building. So if you're feeling that you want to continue that kind of arc, we can totally do it that way. Or if you want to kind of like have more scenes together, kind of have a bit more of like the next morning, work your way towards something, we can do that too.
My only like thought right now is like, yeah, like pacing. I'm curious because like if obviously we all have a bunch of family like legacy or family like what's it called, family legacy stuff to spare. So I'm still like, oh, but if we roll particularly low, or is it gonna like throw the pacing off? I'm open though. I'm cool with whatever the group feels is most interesting. Because we have a lot of clues and we should at least answer something.
I think story-wise, it's more interesting to do the first question and then to like come together in the morning and then start trying to answer the second question. I think pacing-wise, if we feel like we don't have enough time, it's a perfectly valid option to do just the third question.
Yeah. Let's go with the first one if y'all are into that, because I do think you've been building up to that thematically, and so that makes sense. And then we got a bit more time to figure out how you get towards like whatever comes of that.
Okay.
Play testing.
Yay!
I did say in the chat before, let's speed run this. So here we go.
Here we go.
Do you want to take a break to think about some theories, or do you want to jump right in?
I mean, it's the tooth fairy.
Yeah. As soon as B said it's not the tooth fairy, like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's
I
a
feel like
tooth thing.
I think it's like some tooth demon corrupting Aunt Letty's body. That's what I think. I think it's some kind of like entity that is potentially tricked our elder into thinking that it is Auntie Letty.
Oh,
this is how to keep her alive, as it were, or to bring her back. And so that's why it takes on this form sometimes. But I think that it is not necessarily Auntie Letty, or maybe it's stolen her body, what was like left of her body. I'm just throwing out ideas.
Yeah,
Sure.
I think it's like, yeah, I think it's like with Elle's Echo in Time, with like, I know that's not a clue, but it's context with Auntie Letty and the teeth, and like her being on the altar, like, and I think it's like this ancestral like pact, and I think it's a pretty lopsided one, and I think and it's definitely like utilizing either her body or her image to do stuff, and a lot of other sort of reality bending shit. But I think definitely it has to be tooth related.
Yeah.
Not to overextend the tooth metaphor, but I wonder if this entity like needs something or like someone to be its mouthpiece. So like when Uncle Virgil went off to the war, maybe he had just married Aunt Letty, and Aunt Letty was like, at home just waiting. This entity that was like living in the house, like on the grounds, kind of sunk its teeth into her, and that's where this current form of it kind of started, maybe.
Oh, that's messed up. My God. Yeah, and I think the reason, I think like it's like maybe it's a family pact, like you have to do it every time, or like maybe they needed something, like we call upon him in our hour of need. Maybe we can work that into like, why did they summon it? What's the purpose? Maybe trying to save Auntie Letty. Maybe that was the purpose, or some such as that.
We got to be careful here with our wording, though, because there is a degree where it's like this might butt up against the second question of like, what ritual did the elder set in motion? So it feels like there's whatever our theory is, it's like there is a difference between why the elder has summoned it, like the nature of the entity that's been bound to the family, and like and why it was summoned, versus what is the inciting incident for our story right now, like what happened prior to our arrival, prior to our uncle's disappearance. So as long as we can like keep those two separate, I think we avoid butting into the second question. Because if we're answering like something that feels like, oh, this is like part of like what Uncle presently set in motion, then we should like steer. Right. Then we're leaning more into the second question than the first one.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like we should try to focus on the entity itself, rather than like the ritual stuff.
Well, I mean, I think you guys already like hit it really well on the head, which is just being like the why is like very much tied to the Aunt Letty business, right? Like at least like the why, and then there could be a way that that could point to like some kind of difference in the present. Like obviously, like as like clues that point to like what entity is bound to the family. Obviously, the gummy circle of teeth in the woods is like a thing of just like I like the idea of it being some kind of like the whole like mouthpiece thing is very interesting. I think we can go like cool, even like deeper with that, and like also the whole thing about like it takes tithes of teeth. I mean, Damien meeting it in the woods and gave him a dark entity. That's fun and cool about its nature.
I think if we're talking about why the elder summoned it, well, if we know that the entity is capable of altering reality, then it altered a reality that allowed the elder to believe that summoning it would bring back Aunt Letty, or
be helpful somehow.
Or be helpful somehow, yeah.
He did it because the why is that it was almost like deceived, right? Like it was like tricked into thinking it was a good idea, like perception of the situation changed. And I mean, like, and I think we can also use that small figurine made of fish bones and old lures to just paint the picture of like what the entity is. Because I mean, obviously, it's a like quite literally fish bones and old lures. Bones and lures.
Oh shit! Yeah.
It's quite literally, you know, that which sinks its teeth in you. When you are ensnared in its bite, very much thing it gets it hooks in you. In this case, it's and trying to save some of these. I think if we wanted to just, we have 4, but if we wanted to use a 5th one to like lean more on the Uncle Harlow thing, just get a +1. The dusty photograph of him holding a jar full of his lover's teeth.
I think
it paints a nice like past theory of like, here's what the entity is historically, and then it can like, oh wait, so like this trickery of like of maybe getting to bring his lover back, and by means if he gave all of her teeth to the thing in the woods, you know, because this thing has a thing of taking teeth, and we've seen in other flashbacks, especially the one Echo in Time I did, there was a person who removed their teeth every night in the past, and they grew back the following day. So there's something about collecting teeth, but I think the difference here is he like would have taken Letty's teeth and like taken them out there, and it uses her as a mouthpiece. Because it has.
I mean, there's also some context of like the grinding of the teeth and like using the paste for things. Like there's definitely some more occult that could lead to a further question. But
yeah,
any other sense of?
Go on, sorry.
No, I was gonna say, is there more broadly any sense of like, because this is supposed to be something bound to the family line, like was there some relationship to this before Uncle Virgil, or some other broader like what this entity helps? Is there some sort of growing back that happens, or renewal?
I think it's, from what I've seen, it's largely just occupying the land and the property, and there's a lot of stuff around here that like it's been here.
I mean, I feel like the fact that Rosemary's ex-husband's teeth have fallen out prove that it's bound to the family rather than solely to the property. I think it's strongest at the property, but I think it has hooks
as like reach outside
all of us. And I think that it's almost like, I mean, when we answered the last question, we kind of talked about how it was after us specifically, how something like we're rotting because the house is rotting and everything. So I think it's kind of like trying to tie the two together a little bit. I feel like we don't have to necessarily use it as one of the clues, but I do think that it works as a clue to show that it does have some kind of reach outside.
I don't think we need that one for this question. And my thinking on that is, it's actually what you're describing sounds really good for the second question, because as far as I'm concerned, and like from what I've seen, we just need to answer what the entity is that's bound to us and why it was summoned by the elder. We don't necessarily have to give additional context for what the deal was, what its association with the family was, and what you're describing could apply, because it also bridges well with the thing that we established, like with the house is rotting and all that. It could lead really well into like the ritual and how our presence is involved in that. So that seems like a clue that's really good for that one, because it's like it speaks more to like our facts. Yeah.
So shall we just use the ones that we've ticked so far? Does anyone have any other thoughts beyond that?
Elle, you got anything?
I do have some other thoughts, but I think 5 clues is probably enough for this first question, is sort of my feeling. So I'm good to go with what we already have. Although I guess I do have one question. Are we saying that the elder summoned the entity before Aunt Letty's death?
No, after.
Okay. Yeah. The latter makes more sense to me. So
yeah.
Love that. And this lets you learn the name. Do we want to name it as part of your theory, or do you want to?
Oh, the silt versus style. You can have a bunch of different names.
Yeah, true.
The tooth fairy, that which sinks its teeth in you.
Great.
The hook, the hook and sinker. I don't know. Fucking
Yeah.
Continue to give like little titles.
Damn,
like
Alex, you're
Yeah.
good.
We could call it Tan Fei.
Oh shit!
Or
Cat's got a
or
tooth game.
if we do want to add an extra clue, I guess, to get a +2, we could say that its name is literally one of its names is literally we call upon him in our hour of need. That's one of its many titles and / names. If you want to incorporate that one, that could literally be a name.
He who
as
we
one of
call
its-
upon.
I feel like we should save that one.
Then I'm cool with saving it, but yeah.
I feel like we should save that one. I think that we should call this I mean, it's appeared to all of us in different forms. To be fair, I do quite like this, like the Tooth Fairy, or
yeah. What if it does just have a bunch of names? God knows what Rowan called it. Rowan's weird ass.
Yeah, we all like to know what Rowan called it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's go for it. So yeah, we got that photograph of Uncle Harlow holding the jar of teeth, the small figurine of fish bones and lures. Damien's story about the tooth fairy in the woods and giving it teeth, the fact that it can alter reality, and again that other story of the gummy circle of teeth in the ground in the woods. I had to write it down: filthy earthen orifice. Thank you, Alex. Who would like to roll this one?
I don't mind.
I'll roll my. Oh, go ahead. Go for it.
You can both each roll one if you want.
Yeah, roll one.
Roll one die each.
Roll one, yeah.
Yeah, come on, sis. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Oh, I rolled a 5.
I rolled a 6.
Dang.
That's a 12, right? Because it's a +1.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. No complications. The answer is correct. As we've described, the opportunity can be pursued. So this also reduces the complexity of that ritual question, which makes sense. You've established a lot with this, and I think let's take our break here. This is a good stopping point. We can kind of follow up, and if you have any other thoughts when we come back, you can have conversations about it. We've had so much action and so much weirdness, just accelerating here. I would love to like have a moment with the characters. So well done. Let's take a 10-minute break here. That works. See you in a few.
Yeah.
All right, so we're back. We have fully answered the first question. No complications. I think it would be interesting to, well, actually, we can either cut forward to the next morning, or you can have a moment to catch up. Talk about some of this weirdness if you want to.
I mean, the read to me feels like no one slept, and it was just like the four of them huddled together until sunrise.
Sleep deprived.
In the living room, just haggard, bags under the eyes.
Yeah.
Still holding a handful of teeth.
I think Rosemary's tea has never tasted better. I think she's just made everyone like a cup of tea. She's probably gone a little bit into like fussing mode, so I think that she's probably just checking Rowan over because he looked younger, but also he wasn't speaking very much, and I think she just wants to know that he's not injured, or they're not injured. Sorry.
Yeah, have they talked at all night?
No, they haven't.
Not at all. No.
No.
I think Rowan would like almost reluctantly kind of shrinking away from Rosemary's touch, like just barely allow them to like check them over for any injuries. But I don't think you find anything. I think if anything, Rowan looks a little healthier than they usually do.
Somehow more concerning.
Yeah.
Normal and fine.
I think Probably somewhere in here, Rowan has found, a scrap of paper and maybe a pen from one of the drawers in the kitchen. And we'll write out a little note as Rosemary's checking them over that says, "Do you think maybe we shouldn't be fighting so hard?"
Is this for everyone to see or just Rosemary?
Oh, that's a great question. I think for now it's for Rosemary.
I think Rosemary looks at her siblings so to just check that they're not kind of looking, and then writes back on the piece of paper, "The thought had crossed my mind."
Uncle Virgil loved us. He brought us here for a gift. By rejecting it, maybe we're just hurting ourselves. You've always wanted love, right?
She writes back, because I don't know that she's fully don't know that she's fully accepted this as an entity. She remembers Auntie Letty. That's what she remembers. So she writes back, "Auntie Letty was only ever nice to me. She told me that I was the heart and that I should look after it." And I think she'll like lean in and whisper, like she'll kind of like show Rowan like the two rotted like teeth, and she'll say, "It's how I knew they didn't love me. She told me their teeth would stay intact if they loved me." And she's she's looking very intense. She very intensely believes this.
Uncle Virgil loved Aunt Letty stronger than almost any other love I've ever seen. I think she knew something about what true love is. Maybe all this is just to teach you.
You asked me what I wanted. That's what I want. I just want to be loved. And she looks like very emotional as she says it.
I think Rowan is almost like mirroring this rise in emotion. I think we established before that like there's some like weird disconnect between Rosemary and Rowan that like never really had a name. And I think what it is, like what Rowan's realizing at this moment is that like Rowan has always been as desperate to be loved as Rosemary. They just didn't want to speak that aloud because then that's admitting a failure, right? And seeing Rosemary try so hard and fight so hard for it embarrassed them because
secondhand embarrassment. I love
that. But I think in this moment, Rowan, with like tears welling in their eyes, mouths, though no sound comes out, "Me too."
Cool.
Back and forth
I didn't
here.
need my heart today.
I keep wanting to ask if this is a move, but that it could could be either kind of move here, or it could be a spotlight move. Just suggestions. There is one called We Can Do This, where you sort of give each other a pep talk. It could be something else. It's unsettling to us, but it sounds like the characters are, I don't know, you tell me, finding connection, reassurance here somehow.
I feel like I need to do a reassurance move,
Yeah.
so I'm happy to
Yeah.
say that that's what it is. If that feels right to you.
Yeah, I think it definitely feels like reassurance between the two of us. It might not be reassurance that the other two would agree with, but
in the chat, yeah, midsummer. Yep, it's those kind of vibes. Yeah. So Rosemary is. Are you making the move? The reassurance, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm making the move. I think it's like very much like the question was asked and the power was kind of like, but I think that vulnerability from Rowan has made Rosemary feel like she's the one directing this conversation, even if she's potentially not. But I'll make a reassurance.
If that makes sense. I don't know if I'm misreading it, but whoever wants to. Yep.
No, I think it totally works for Rosemary to be the one to roll.
All right. And maybe I feel like, I don't know what you think. I feel like this is with sensitivity, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That makes sense.
5
I was gonna say, just to be mean, I'm gonna say innocence lost is gonna put you at disadvantage here.
Oh no! That is mean.
There's still the opportunity for bonds and other stuff to come in, but I would like to see it play
out. Okay. 2 is 7, 6, and a 3 is 9. So the one that I originally rolled was 7, which would be +2 is 9, whereas the new roll was 9 + 2 is 11. So it would have been an 11, but it's a 9.
You're still good. Okay, yeah. No problem. So you are both able to either clear a condition or refresh a bond. However, for Rosemary, something still gnaws at you. This is kind of putting a lot on you to flesh it out, but and you can think about it if you need one more time, but something about this, what you've been discussing, what you've encountered, still gnaws at you. I guess what does still feel unsettling, or what do you still what's like a lingering uncertainty? Because that will give me something to bring back.
Yeah. Do you want me to answer now, or
if you want, or you can come back to it?
I think that the lingering uncertainty for Rosemary is whether this entity is good or harbors nefarious intentions. I think she has grown up with this entity in her heart being like guidance and leading her along a path, and she's basically lived her life by this entity's guidance. So to believe that it might be bad is not something that Rosemary's quite ready to accept yet, because then that means that she might have made some rather large life decisions that were not correct or misinformed. She trusts and loves her brothers, but I think that there was a certain amount of relief that came with Rowan, maybe, and knowing Rowan kind of has this kind of sort of almost strange connection with the weird and the strange, that Rowan thinks that this entity might not be bad. That's something that would bring Rosemary a lot of relief, because she would be very much in that mind frame of like, oh, maybe I am doing it right after all. And so that's where her kind of like, she's not sure yet, and I know what she wants to believe, but she is kind of willing to face that what she wants might not be the reality as well.
Makes sense. Thanks for that description in that scene. While this is happening, Isaac, Damien, are you together? Are you branching out?
I mean, unless Isaac has gone off, Damien is like with him if we're all still like in a living room area. What are you doing, Isaac?
I think that's just exactly what you described. Like it's
Yeah.
I think Isaac is mostly just like sitting like deeply like I guess contemplative, but just
Mhm.
like not like locked in on anything, just like sitting there as like mulling something over. Just doing much of the same as they've probably been doing for the past few hours, just kind of off in his own head.
Yeah, I think actually like he's gotten the tea from Rosemary and been like God, I hope it's caffeinated. But he's just kind of like chilling on another chair, like chewing on his nails, like he's always fucking doing if he doesn't have like a cigarette or something else in his hand. And he just says, out of impromptu, apropos of nothing. Maybe it's hungry.
What?
Maybe it's hungry.
What's hungry?
The thing, the thing in the, you know.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And we're just supposed to feed it like a cat, and nobody's feeding it.
Okay. Let's say for a moment I entertain that line of thinking. What are you supposing to do about it?
It's not hard to find teeth. What?
Have you considered that maybe that is the opposite of what should be happening here?
Okay.
Uncle gave it I Uncle gave it Aunt Letty's teeth,
Mm-hmm.
I think we believe, right? And
Yes.
unless he's been starving it all this time, that seems nothing about this seems good. You understand? It's benevolent things don't look like this. This is not what happens for good fortunes.
Well, how do we know what good things look like?
We've had a very tough time even finding that, I guess. Even before we came back.
I mean, what if we're not good things?
Do you think you're a good thing?
Do you?
I think I'm conceited, anal, obsessive compulsive, self-medicating, prone to taking out my anger on other people, not processing my feelings. But despite my foibles and flaws, I do like to think that I am not a bad thing. I'm me, and for all that comes with. Why did you drop out?
I got expelled. I didn't drop out. I got expelled.
What happened?
Are you sure we have to talk about this?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
I mean, I could tell you it wasn't my fault, and I'd be lying, but I told them it wasn't my fault. We weren't supposed to be, you know, up there. We weren't supposed to be drinking on campus. And we got in a fight. And I might have pushed him off a very high ledge. One of my peers, friends, maybe. I don't know what he was. And, yeah. Cameras caught it. Security cameras. We were stupid. They chalked it up to an accident. There wasn't a police report or anything, not a real one. Maybe just an accident, you know, a stupid drunken kids. But yeah, that was my third strike.
What happened to him?
Oh, he died.
Were you the one to push him?
I didn't mean for him to die.
Did you push him, Damien?
Yeah. But I didn't mean for him to die. I wasn't thinking. I guess it didn't matter what I meant. You happy now? You know?
Like there has to be a night move in here.
I-
Unless you want to make a different case.
I am never letting Rosemary get judged for having a couple of teeth on her person.
Oh no!
And after literal murder.
It was an accident.
Unless anyone wants to make a case for a different move happening here.
No,
what do you think,
I don't
Alex?
think this is reassurance.
Doesn't feel like reassurance to me.
Yeah.
The baby.
I mean, it's just a baby.
It's a baby.
Yeah, am I the one making the night move? What's
That's what I
happening?
was gonna say.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how do you feel, Isaac? You know.
I don't know. This is a fucking bombshell that's being dropped on someone that Damien thought was just a little misguided and not actively detrimental to other people's well-being.
I guess I'll say maybe if this makes sense to like stay in the scene, maybe it's the night move, unless you're just like can't take it, you want to storm out, you want to dissociate. I don't know. I'm just curious. Like this seems like a big deal.
I have so many thoughts.
We can come back to you all here.
Yeah, let's leave me hanging.
Yeah,
I need to
think about it. Yeah.
Fuck.
We thought we were writing a horror scenario, but you all are just unleashing it yourselves.
We are the horrors.
Yes. Yep. Rosemary, Rowan. What do you think? It's a new day.
It's a new day.
It's gray. It's, you know, it doesn't really feel like morning. It sounds like you all have just kind of stayed up through the night.
I think it's very early hours. Like, I think it's literally just like that moment where it's like twilight, where it's like you can just see the sun is starting to rise, maybe, but you'd still think it was nighttime. You'd still call it nighttime. Yeah, I think that Rosemary is probably kind of just coming off the back of that conversation with Rowan. She would probably want to try to get everyone together just to figure out next moves if possible. So I don't know if Rowan had anything more they wanted to add.
I think Rowan would suggest, assuming someone told Rowan about the memory that Isaac shared of seeing Uncle Virgil in the woods, or coming from the woods, Rowan would want to suggest that we go into the woods to find that place.
I think that Rosemary, once she feels like Rowan is like an ally and like kind of on the same page as her, she would probably just tell her everything. Like, this is what we've experienced. This is everything that like Isaac said and Damien said. These are their experiences, but they're not the same as my experiences, and I don't know like what that means, and I'm just so confused and I need guidance and yeah, just like all of that. So like that kind of like and she would be like, do you think did you find any answers on your adventure?
I think Rowan is still keeping the teeth from the altar. After Isaac rejected their gift of the teeth the night before, Rowan kept them, and will kind of dig them out of their pocket and show them to Rosemary. But this time we can see that each tooth has like an etching in it of initials. These are very clearly like the siblings' baby teeth.
Oh, from different siblings?
Yeah, a tooth from each sibling.
Nice. Yes.
Okay. Cool. So I think that Rosemary would actually pick them up almost like curiously, like not like with disgust or horror like Isaac did. I think she would kind of look at them and analyze them a little bit. Are they rotting, or do they seem like perfectly intact?
Let's do a move here. Let's do the unearth move. Because maybe you shouldn't look too closely at weird teeth with the etchings that I meant.
Well, maybe that, you know, that's not a bad shout in life.
Yeah, so prying into things best left alone. It could be a reason or sensitivity, but I think sensitivity given where they've come from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sensitivity. Oh, a double 6.
Wow.
Plus
okay.
2. So that's incredible. Damn, I would have not rolled that before.
Wow. Yeah, okay, so you get a clue, and I have here the house. I'm gonna say the house or the land, because you're also in the forest. Reveals a secret to you. This will give you an additional inheritance to your sheet. Basically something you can use for advantage or a clue. Let me let me come back to you on that. I have a thought about the clue, and then you all get to expand on it. Excellent. Isaac, Damien, let's check in with you.
Yes. So I think Isaac, I'm gonna back down from the night move as was mentioned, and that's just like Damien.
Yeah.
So like Isaac gets up and just like leaves, like just like leaves the room. I think Isaac is going to step outside and like fumble into his pocket to pull out a cigarette. Now he's mostly been trying to quit, as we've established, but he's going to light it up and he's going to smoke. And his head is swimming with thoughts. And I think he needs to go for a walk. I think he needs to go he needs to move. He doesn't know what to think. He's going to go walking into the woods. And as he's walking into the woods, he's thinking a lot about their childhood. And he's thinking a lot about Damien's childhood. And B, if I recall correctly, like you mentioned, I think back in session 1 that Damien like spent a lot of time in the woods, like ran around places in the woods constantly.
All the
something
time.
About like spots in the woods that he liked or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the conversation is echoing in his head that he was just having with Damien, conversations from last night. And he's just trying to like walk it off, or at least parse through his thoughts, but he can't shake this like this feeling, this kernel of doubt that they're. I mean, obviously we've talked a lot about like the circle of teeth out in the woods, but the shadows, begin to, metaphorically, the shadows begin to like lengthen, and he can't help but like question: is there something wrong here? Is there? And I don't think he can necessarily fully face the possibility that he might just have an imperfect little baby brother, and is getting into the territory of like, well, if he gave his teeth to that thing before, is there more out here that can explain what happened, what is going on with my brother? Is there something in here that is the root of its misfortune still? Like, is there a way I can protect him from this or bring him back from this? He's like really beginning to get zealous. And I think I'm wanting to on his walk turned into wanting to pry forth answers from this forest and glean something in his desperation to try and be able to explain away his brother.
Oh
Yeah.
shit.
Love this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's enough to, would you say that it's enough to trigger the unearth move?
Unearth move? Yeah. I mean, maybe I could see there being, we've heard a few stories from Damien about his time in the woods. Are you revisiting a spot or something like that?
I think it's
childhood trail or something.
I think so. However, let's be very clear. I want to say something. I told B I'm going to do something crazy.
Yeah. I was waiting for it.
Yeah. And it rained a lot yesterday, but it sure is hot and dry today. I'm going to burn it all down.
Okay.
You're gonna set the woods on fire?
I'm going.
Great.
It counts as a location and it's not a secret location. I can use that spotlight move.
So let's read that spotlight move. Yeah. Not how I pictured it. Amazing. When you solve a problem using the most destructive means possible, you can treat the roll as a 12+. Describe how the location is no longer accessible to any siblings and flee the scene.
And I will say that on your coattails there, Gabriel, that you described, all his old haunts, maybe in good, true childhood nostalgia fashion, there's you can find the old half collapsed hideout of branches where there's still shit left behind, papers or whatever. And I think it goes he gets and remember, it's very cold. And so it's almost he's he begins to chain smoke. It's not just one cigarette. It's all the ones he has in his pack. I think he starts with those places of Damien's childhood, and maybe just puts a cigarette to some papers that are there, just kind of watches them burn. And it rained all of yesterday. How is this place so dry? Well, the land might not just be hungry, it might also be very thirsty and drinks very deep. And it's already dry out. So I just begin lighting up all of Damien's haunts, I think, in a fugue state. The woods and the way that Isaac has been perceiving it from the conversations we had previously, this thing is out in the woods. In his understanding of it, it's out in the woods, even if there's more to it than that. So maybe the woods are the root of it all. Maybe if we literally just burn the woods down and it'll scour clean the earth, and maybe with it cleanse the corruption away.
And okay, so
I don't know if he knows that Rosemary's out in the woods, but
no, this is gonna be interesting.
Oh shit, you guys are already out in the woods? Oh no.
So we were
you're
describing
muted.
this as
You're muted.
Go ahead.
We went to the woods, didn't we? Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, for some reason I thought that we were still at the kitchen table talking, but we went and explored the woods. So so we're in the wood. Okay, thanks, thanks, Isaac.
This will be we'll play it out. We'll kind of go in steps because you have a success I got to get to as well. But I think for this unearth move for the 12+, let me just make sure. Yeah, this will work. So this is a clue, but with the 12+, I'm going to say you can also take this as an item to use for advantage. Because as you burn down Damien's little tree fort, I think, which full of old papers and dry stuff, and just goes up, and maybe this is a bit of a cut forward in time, or maybe you see this in the fire and snatch it out. You find maybe it was buried actually under under the boards of this little fort. It is a hollow beast mask, carefully stitched from different animal hides.
That fits really well with the thing I just said in chat.
It does.
As the fire
Oh, I did
burns
not
away
even see that.
everything,
Great.
there are
Yeah.
a lot of
Nice.
animal bones. Just a note.
Yeah, you're able to snatch that out. You can use that for advantage. You can add description to it whenever you want. But you know, if you're letting the fire burn, it will continue to spread. I think we will cut back over to Rosemary and Rowan, where you rolled a 12. So you also get an item from this. And you were looking at the teeth, and I think let me double check this. I think because I like how Ella already described there being the siblings like initials on the teeth. I don't want to change to that. I can't really top that. That's already super creepy and weird. I think though, as you are examining them, they start to quiver in your hand. Almost like when magnets are being pulled by something. And if you kind of pay attention to that, you will find they're drawn towards a particular spot in the woods.
Ooh.
And as you get closer, it gets a little more intense, almost like wanting you to place them there, or however you interpret that, but it's being drawn towards a large circle of dead earth that clearly has been burnt over and over in a clearing in the woods. I will say, maybe this is just Rosemary intuitively something, however you get there, you get the sense that there's something under that patch of earth waiting just for you. If you would like to dig for it, there's something there you can have as an item. But that's mechanically, it's not a complication, just narratively, that's what I'm putting out there.
Can I choose what's buried under there?
I have an idea, but go for it. Yeah, I'm curious what you. Yeah.
Well, so my idea was going to be my missing stuffed toy.
I was going there too, so 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was too cool not to.
In this place that I have never been before.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I think that we kind of get like drawn to this place, and to be clear, this has been burnt, but it's like old burns, like it's was but charred previously. It's not currently burning.
Right. It looks like it's charred. Maybe there's like some little saplings have grown back. Maybe there's like older like stumps, maybe even stones that there's like burn, their singe marks on them or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I think
Rowan's with you too, if obviously if you want to play into that. Yeah.
I think that like, so obviously we've had these teeth and we've been kind of following them, and it feels like we know when we're gonna get to the place that we're supposed to get, and sure enough they kind of just like, it's almost like I think it's almost like a replay of the memory from before where she tripped over the tree stump, and it kind of happens again. She sort of like is walking and walking with these teeth, and then she suddenly like trips and they fall out of her hand and kind of scatter along this place that's got this like sort of burnt earth, and she bends down, and I think she just kind of begins to dig, almost obsessively, and she kind of turns back to Rowan and says, "Give me a hand, will you?"
I think you don't even need to ask Rowan. Like, Rowan gets on their knees and is right there digging with you. And I think when it begins to like become clear like what is buried here, Rowan begins making this gesture like over and over with their hands. I'm not sure Rosemary would recognize it. You can tell me, but it's the sign for gift over and over and over again, excitedly.
Oh, I don't know that like Rosemary would recognize the gesture necessarily, but I think she would recognize like at least some of the intent behind it. like just the excitement and the understanding that this is, and she kind of would, I think she would like take this sort of like dirt caked toy, and I think she would kind of like really embrace it tight, and I think she would kind of just like close her eyes, and she would just kind of whisper to herself, I missed you, and then look at Rowan and say, do you think this is what we were meant to find? What does it mean? I don't understand what it means.
Rowan takes out the paper again, and they don't write anything actually. It's like this, like they knew that Rosemary would ask at some point, and they just like turn it around and show that written there is, we have to ask Aunt Letty what it means.
I think I know that Rosemary's heart is definitely wavering in one direction right now. And she kind of looks at it, and she kind of starts to like nod to herself, and she takes a big inhalation of breath to kind of like maybe like ask out loud, or to call out to this thing, or to try to, I don't know, like almost tempt it to her to try to get answers to these questions that she has in her mind. And as she does, I think that's when she begins to smell smoke.
Yeah.
And she's like, do you smell that, or is that just me? Is something on fire?
Rowan looks in the direction that the aroma of smoke is coming from on the wind. Do we see Isaac there? Or did he set the fire and like clear out immediately?
It's up to Alex if he wants to have a dramatic moment, but I think for you to see him, he would have had to step across where there's like a burning, line of trees.
I think it's more interesting though if they like, if they see him after the fact, maybe.
Like later on, at like a
Yeah.
future scene. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, so at this point the fire has progressed quite a lot.
Yeah, I
That's
think
what you're
he
saying.
intention. I think the angle I'm going with is that he was just in a fugue setting fire to Damien's fucking treehouse, whatever, and then of course that started a much bigger fire that is out of his hands, and he's just kind of like helplessly watching it from the edge of the property because it's taking more and more of the woods with it.
Then I think wide-eyed Rowan, just like seeing just like flame and smoke growing larger, they'll grab Rosemary's hand and start like scrambling to the edge of the woods to get out.
Nice. We'll come back to you all in a second. Damien, what have you been up to?
I think at first he was just like, he stayed where he was, and he's just like, I fucked up. Ah, shit, I shouldn't have said anything. I should have lied. And he goes outside to do the same goddamn thing Isaac did because they're a little too related. He's gonna go smoke, and he's about to light up the cigarette, and he smells smoke before he does, and he's like, what? And he looks up over, and the fucking woods are ablaze. And do I see any of you, or do I just see the woods on fire? Like,
maybe it's dramatic if you see Isaac coming back out of the woods, just very like slow stride, kind of like 1,000-yard stare, smoking for a cigarette.
Sure.
And then even more dramatic if you hear Rosemary screaming straight afterwards.
Mm-hmm. And they're just like the screaming and moving. I think it instantly bolts to Isaac and is like, what did you do? What did you do?
He just looks down at Damien and just pats him on the head.
Don't fucking patronize me. What did you do?
I'm protecting the family.
No, Jesus Christ. and just goes straight towards where he heard Rosemary screaming.
Yeah, let's have the move from Damien first then. I think we'll just kind of see how it plays out. So just a reminder, there are more spotlight moves if people want to make use of those. Or otherwise it's probably, I assume you're trying to like find them and try to help them out of there. That's definitely going to be a yeah, that's gonna be a night move.
Yes.
Yeah,
like,
we're playing Trophy Dark. Yeah.
we're almost playing Trophy Dark. Yeah, I don't think any of the spotlight moves will help me in this particular endeavor. So yeah, just it's regular old roll.
Yeah, night
move. Disadvantage, what's the vibe?
Well, I mean, besides the obvious getting burned in the fire, what are you afraid might be going wrong here?
I mean, I'm afraid at least Rosemary, if not Rosemary and Rowan, are going to be burned alive because of Isaac.
Yeah,
and you know,
pretty quick moving flame, it sounds like.
Yeah, remarkable. I think the way it's worse than that is this may be some unintentional sacrifice. You all may not realize fully what you're doing, but I mean, you drop some teeth into a weird circle in the woods, you know.
Just pepper that in there as a potential. Cool.
yeah.
I gotta find a way to make it worse.
Elle's right. It's almost like there's something weird going on here.
Yeah, I think vitality. Let me just double check if conditions you could hurt yourself or innocence lost would put you at disadvantage here.
All right, disadvantage with a -1 from vitality. Woo! Okay. Okay, that's 7. Whew.
And again, you can mark family legacy, or if anyone wants to use a bond.
Wait, you got what dice?
Or Isaac could fight you here.
I was about to say.
Yeah, I got a 5 and a 3.
Okay. How to destroy a bond? Hold on.
Yeah.
You can spend a bond dice forcibly to affect the character's buffering it by replacing a higher die with a lower one. I don't have a lower die, unfortunately.
Damn it.
Do you have any of the same number?
No, I have a 6 with Damien.
Man, that would have been fun.
Man, it's too hard to.
Yeah. That's okay.
Should we make it easier to destroy a bond? Is this the note in the playtest?
No,
it could be. Just lose your bond.
I think what would make sense, I think, is you got a 5 and a 3. What if I just give you the 6 and you know, so like instead of the 3, right? That's how bond dice work. I can. Yeah, and to increase the outcome, because I mean, like, even if it's like contrary to, like, even if there's like opposition here, I'm still operating under the assumption of like I'm saving the family, and what you're doing is you're trying to save the family as well. So it's still kind of like we're
working together.
Maybe I kind of like snap out of it a little bit and go like rush into the woods to like, maybe it's like clearly like this dissociative fugue state when you're like yelling in his face and running off into the woods, he like snaps out of it and like looks upon the encroaching blaze with horror and goes like rushing after you to help, muttering to himself about like he didn't mean for this to happen. Yeah, like he didn't know that they were in the woods, and he's like snapping out of it. So I can increase your result because I'm actually running in to help you as well.
We're gonna help the sibling.
You can just actually help. Yeah.
That's
funny to me though, that like mechanically, again, because you've established all this like helping your brother, that it's actually hard to undermine him at this point.
Yeah.
Which I love that.
So what does that make the roll?
So if it's replacing a dice, that's like I was a 7 before, right?
Well, yeah, because you rolled a 5 and a 3, right?
Yeah, so it's an 8.
I replaced the 3 with the 6.
Oh, you replaced
so
the 3 with the 6. Sorry, that's
Okay.
a full success. My bad. My dumbass was like, you replaced the 5 and added 1. I'm a goober. I can do math.
So full success, you will be able
success.
to, let's say you're able to safely either like douse some of the flames for a path in, or safely get in there. I still would like to see what happens on the other side, because Rowan and Rosemary have been up to something in the meantime. They're not like passive characters. let's have, yeah, Rosemary and Rowan. How do you, while that's happening, you don't know they're trying to help you necessarily. What does this look like from your side?
So I feel like the flames are spreading quickly towards us.
Mm-hmm.
If Rowan has grabbed Rosemary, I think that Rosemary would allow herself to be led by Rowan, and it would be a case of like we're probably just trying to get away from the flames, but like how easy is that right now? Like, are we like surrounded by flames? Is there a very clear path that is not inhibited by flames? Are the flames chasing us? Like, what's the situation with the flames?
I'm thinking it's maybe just like trying to find your way through the woods and find a safe way back. Because it's not like it's a circle around you. It's just like, it's not even easy terrain. There's valleys. This is up in the mountains. You're trying to like scramble through like thick undergrowth and that kind of thing. So someone wants just to kind of see what happens here. If one of you wants to make the roll or help each other, if Rowan wants to lead it as you described, that's fine.
Yeah, I
Sure.
think Rowan is leading the charge right now.
This would also be the night move with vitality. Besides being burdened to fire, besides the last roll we've established, is there anything else that might go wrong here?
Oh, besides being burnt in the fire.
Besides the fire, yeah.
Or is that pretty straightforward? That's fine.
I think Rowan's afraid that this destruction of like the family grounds, which we know are like so tied to this entity, I think they're afraid this angers it, that like Rowan's intentions to help will be ruined by Isaac's actions here.
Makes sense. I think being marked for sacrifice will put you at disadvantage. But anyway, any other mechanics can come into play, bond dice, items, and so on.
Yeah, I'll try the roll and we'll see what the bond dice do. Okay. That is, oh sorry, what's that? I have an 8 on the dice.
I think vitality.
Okay, so it's an 8.
Nice. You want to roll with that, or do you does anyone want to try to help? Or do you want to mark a family legacy to bump it up?
What did you get in your dice again?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, what are the 2 dice numbers?
Oh, 2 4s.
Oh shit, I have a 4. That won't help you.
Yeah, I have a 4 as well.
I can let you re-roll, but that's a risk.
Spicy.
If you want,
I can bump it up, sure.
Cool. I was going to offer as a complication that the path out leads you to the swimming hole, basically. But you can get there if you want to anyway. If you bump it up, full success between the two of you. I'm going to let Elle decide because you're leading it here. Do you run into Damien and Isaac? Do you find another way out?
I think that if Rosemary's letting Rowan sort of dictate where we're going, Rosemary would notice quite quickly, I think, that Rowan's not running toward Isaac and Damien's voices. They're running toward the swimming hole with like incredible urgency. Like there's something that we have to do before those two catch up with us. And I think if Rosemary starts to pull away, Rowan like squeezes their hand tight or her hand tight.
Worth pointing out that we haven't done all these flashbacks. We're kind of under time constraints a little bit, but you have marked your 3rd family legacy prompt here, which is unraveling, and it does mention that while acting to secure your place in the family line or remove any obstacles posed by your siblings, basically you can take the condition hellbent to reroll any ones on your dice. So that might be a mechanic in play.
Sure. And if I'm meant
That
to
happens. Yeah.
briefly recall a moment when I realized I would never truly be accepted by the Elder, I think we just get a very quick flashback of Rowan on the patio with Uncle Virgil being taught these different little signs for communication. And we as the audience realize that Rowan is like misunderstanding what the signs mean. Uncle Virgil isn't signing gift, he's teaching Rowan the word sacrifice.
Oh no.
Oh no. I'm in danger. Okay. I am trying to have a think as to, I feel like Rosemary is kind of caught in this moment of like basically whether she wants to give into what she wants to be true, but also she can hear her siblings calling for her, and I think I would like to try to use a move, I guess, to figure out whether Rowan / this entity through Rowan have harmful intentions towards me. I don't know if there's a move that will help me do that, because that will that will be the decider as to whether Rosemary is going to pull away.
I can offer I have one idea, because I think before, from that reassurance move, one thing that was left hanging for me as the keeper is that you'll find evidence of your worst fears in a future scene. And so I think that's kind of great, because if you're wondering that, and feel free to adjust this or expand on it, however, whether it's a voice or a vision, I think you hear Aunt Letty scolding you and saying, "You let the teeth fall. You let them fall on the ground. I told you your teeth would fall out. Now what are we gonna do with this mess?"
Oh God. Oh no, she's never heard Aunt Letty scold her before.
Yeah, have you even heard her be angry with you before? I don't know.
No, I think it's always been like a very soft, like I'm the overlooked sibling, but I think that Aunt Letty is the only time that I don't feel overlooked. It almost, I get to feel special in Aunt Letty's presence. And I think that like just the really intense expression on like Rowan's face, followed by like the sound of this like scolding, there's just something in like the intensity of it, like the way that they're really trying to push for me to go this direction, that just stops Rosemary. And I think Rosemary is gonna try to pull away from Rowan. I think there is a move.
I think whatever's most interesting to you all, you can just do that through just like intensity of will or whatever, or this can be a roll if you all want to like play it out that way.
I think that like I think Rosemary's just gonna pull away, and she's just gonna like really try to pull and try to run back towards where she hears her brothers.
And we see Rowan like skid to a stop and turn, like watching Rosemary is retreating back, and they're just like screaming with all of their body, but can't produce any words.
Oh no. Isaac, Damien, Again, we're very writer's room here. It's whatever we all think is most dramatic and interesting as we're kind of getting closer to our time here. So feel free to up the stakes however you would like. I don't want to tell you where you can or can't be. I think whatever is most interesting. Plus, you've succeeded on that roll to like, deal with the fire. So you can run into each other.
Kind of want, yeah. Listen, I'm following Beasley here. Damien left into the fray. I'm just helping.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think the first thing that I think I've run into Rosemary, and I look around, like, where's Rowan? Do you have Rowan?
Rowan has been, whatever that thing is, it's got them.
I don't give a
Up
shit.
here.
Where are they?
They went to the lake, to the pool.
Are they in the woods where the fire is?
Yes.
Jesus.
I think
They wouldn't come with me.
I think Isaac like takes a step forward in that direction, but then stops and then looks over at Damien. There's like equal parts like guilt and fear and just like determination on his face. And I think by his expression, it's kind of it's a wordless look of like, I've clearly done enough. You handle this. And then he goes to like put his arm around Rosemary and like guide her back to the house and make sure that he has her. And he's trusting you that you are the right one to make this choice and go do that. Yeah.
Fabulous. Okay, as soon as I like we exchanged that look, and you just don't fuck this up, and just he's gone again and towards the swimming hole that they've all been to try to find Rowan, and not really worrying about the fire. I think does this still count for the same role of like just keeping and going towards the swimming hole? Or
yeah, we can just build on that success. I think it's more interesting to like see where you run into each other and then what happens.
yeah, where
what
do I
roles
run
might
into?
follow.
I'm gonna let Rowan decide. Where do I run into them?
Like,
How
yeah,
does
like
this
who
happen?
finds who is,
Yeah.
I think when you find Rowan, they are wading into the swimming hole. So you're seeing them from behind, just like walking in fully clothed, and you can hear them sobbing like quite loudly.
Oh, Rowan.
Oh no. Oh yeah. So it just bursts through the trees and is like exhausted, -1 vitality, a smoker. Just like, okay. And then hears you sobbing. It's like, Rowan, Rowan. And if you don't stop, he follows you into the water to try to like grab your shoulder and turn you around.
When you turn Rowan around, you see that their front teeth are all beginning to rot and loosen. And I think one even like falls out with the force of you turning their head.
Shit. Okay. It's okay. You're okay.
Rowan shakes their head no. It's not okay. They're not okay.
And instead of pulling you out of the water, Damien pulls you into a hug and is just, you're all right. No one's dead. That's all that matters.
And you hear or you feel the like breath against your ear as you pull Rowan into this embrace, and they're like whispering something. And you hear a voice, but it's not coming from Rowan. It's coming from like somewhere deep underneath the swimming hole, like bubbling up. A gurgling sort of speech. And it says, "It has to be me." The gift.
It doesn't have to be. Why does it have to be you? All just can't we just It used to like with the animals. Why is it that not enough?
It's too hungry. It's been starving too long. We need to give it something.
Are you sure it has to be you? Can't we draw straws? I mean, something? Find someone else. We could find someone else. It doesn't have to be one of us. We could find someone. And he pulls away from the hug to like hold you by the shoulders and look at you in the face.
Don't you think everything in this family was better before I came?
No, I don't. I don't think so.
Be honest.
I am being honest. You always believed me, and you never told me what to do, and you made me feel seen and loved, Rowan, and I know that we all love you, and things weren't better. They were just different.
Isaac doesn't think so.
Isaac can fuck off.
Rosemary doesn't believe me. You're
Then
the
she can
only
fuck off
one.
too. Then she can fuck off too, all right? Come on. This isn't how we should do this. This isn't how we should do this. If you think that this is what we're supposed to be doing, you can't just unceremoniously just get into the water, right? That's ridiculous. We can find something else out, right? We can do this right. Maybe make them believe us. And then figure this out together.
When have any of us done anything right?
There's a first time for everything.
I think as you go to take a step to start to like maybe walk out of the water, the stones underfoot, maybe it's just slimy algae, maybe it's something else, they give way and you stumble and you try to find your footing, and another stone or the bottom of this pool gives way. And there's a sort of roiling and churning from under the water. A pool that was still before suddenly has currents, almost like a whirlpool. Something from below is trying to drag you both back in. We'll come back to you in a moment because I want to know what Isaac and Rosemary have been up to. And we're approaching. We have a whole lot of time.
We gotta tackle this question. I think, I mean, at least on the
Yeah.
Rosemary and Isaac front, it's pretty like I don't think the scene needs much more exploration because he just guides her back to the house. So I'm fine with going and like facing this last darkness to see how this is gonna shake out.
I'm
And then we can kind of see how the scenes connect. Yeah, I'm into it.
The same thoughts, yeah.
Let's look at, okay, so
What's our clues?
it is complexity 4. You have what, 7 clues?
Mm-hmm.
Probably a few, yeah. I don't know if anyone has any like unresolved like things that add a clue that we haven't got to. That's fine. Any thoughts of, I mean, the ritual? We've set a lot of groundwork for like what the ritual might be and what it looks like. But the question is, how is your presence essential to this ritual? We may have already kind of established that too. Like the clue of Rowan knowing that you're here for a reason, about Uncle Virgil telling you to take your medicine seems pretty straightforward.
That feels like a pretty obvious one. And again, I think the fact that it has to be us that we specifically are kind of the ones that this, whatever this entity is, it's after, kind of ties in with like it's like we talked before about like rot and how it's spreading to our lives because we're not close enough to the house or we're not close enough to what's going on here. And I think like that like Rosemary's ex-husbands and currently divorcing husbands, their teeth falling out is a good indicator that like it's got an ability to kind of like pull us back here, and it wants us specifically. It's not just after anyone who comes close to the house. It's something to do with us. So I would say to tick that one.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the ritual,
Alex,
Ponscombe.
Hell, do you have any thoughts on this? I try not to do it first because I helped write this thing.
Yeah,
So.
that's true.
I don't know. Like I'm locked in and kind of like trying to think of something, but I'm really trying to like shake some different thoughts loose.
Got too into character.
I know.
Like the Ponscombe connecting to,
And
to the pool and that site of sacrifice seems.
I mean, I had the idea that with that large circle of dead earth clearly burned over and over. I mean, that echoes nicely with me setting the woods on fire, which I think implies that, because I had narrated that it was kind of in a fugue state, but it could even be suggested that like the fire was an integral aspect of it. It was expected. And I actually think, like, what if we were to examine that circle of dead earth, like even better, like we might find some bones amidst the soot. I think Uncle Virgil set himself ablaze at one point, and the ritual does involve fire. And so like we confirm his existence, and that was part of the whole experience. So like the fire being set, like it's part of it. Is where I'm thinking. Help.
I mean, narratively, to me, it feels like what feels most obvious is that Uncle Virgil just wanted Aunt Letty back, like for real, like the real Aunt Letty, not this like weird entity version of her that we've been encountering throughout our lives. And I think there are a few clues that seem to fit with that. Like we call upon him in our hour of need. Maybe the clue about Rowan knowing that we're all here for a reason. Like, I mean, Uncle Virgil loved us, but maybe not as much as he loved Aunt Letty. And so we're kind of here to make sure the ritual happens. And also, like, if something dire happens to us in the process, it doesn't really matter. Like, we're here to, if we have to be sacrifices, then it is what it is.
It happens. I think the beast mask is like representative of probably the entity. Like,
well, I mean, you met the Tooth Fairy when you were a kid, didn't you? You made a mask of a depiction of a thing of it. So I mean, and I kind of like the idea of, we have a recurring theme of like it hiding behind different visages and using things. And I don't know, like, what if the idea is that there's always been something a little wrong with Damien, and since Damien promised his teeth to it a long time ago, what if Damien is this like crucial element of like was supposed to do something? I don't know. That's kind of like
I like this idea that we all have these different weird roles in it, because that's kind of the whole thing, right? Like that's like the whole concept, is that we all have these different roles. Like Isaac has been sort of piloting the ship and set the whole fucking woods ablaze, and you know, Rosemary has these teeth and like has kept this sort of weird fucked up tradition going and of lovers' teeth. And Rowan is clearly like privy to all of this and understands how this thing speaks and understands what it is to be a sacrifice. And yeah, I like the idea that Damien has always been kind of a little fucked up in that regard, because it's always kind of had its claws in him. The same way it feels like Rowan had. It's probably why those two get along so well, because they're both a little.
Maybe Uncle Virgil didn't think that he would ever love anything again after Auntie Letty, and then he loved us, and so it's kind of made him believe that if he can give up us, then he can get Auntie Letty back in some way.
Oh, that's fucked up.
That's really fucked up. And yeah, for the pond scum in the tunnels, maybe that's just like, maybe this place is the tunnels are the way to like the swimming hole and the altar and shit. Like that's the way to it, right? Like, or that's the way to a huge. I think this ritual encompasses a lot of this place, it seems like. So maybe the tunnels are the way. It's almost like it's the directional stuff. Like this is where everything goes. If that makes any sense.
I'm with you.
And I think maybe it's to sort of dispel, like the idea maybe is the ritual would dispel the rot, or is the rot like integral? Like what's everyone's thoughts on that? Because I really like this idea of this encroaching rot.
I mean,
so what does it mean?
We like have to address the rot within ourselves to stop the.
We've had such prominent tooth themes, and that whereas like previously we're like, oh yeah, like there was this like rot happening here, and that seemed like a bad thing. But is this like the Act 3 like reversal of expectation, where it's like actually the rot is probably a good thing? Because like if we have like these themes of teeth and all that, like so far the teeth stuff is the bad side of things we keep seeing. What if the rot is actually good? Like it's supposed to wither and die, but it's kept being sustained over time. So the point is that it's like the whole like fear of change and like fear of like moving on after death. It's a metaphor. It's all a metaphor.
The teeth is a metaphor.
It could have been that it's that third act twist of like, oh, what you thought was actually a bad thing is probably actually not like part of the same opposing force. Like it's like, and that fits well with Isaac's story about like, you know, keeping the darkness at bay. It's like quite literally though, it's like metaphorically, it's like snuffing the candle flame. It's like you gotta let the dark in. You gotta let the like this shit needs to die, but it needs to rot. Like it's the natural course here is that the rot needs to eat it out. You know.
And also like forest fires and like fungi and things growing from, you know, like growing back.
Yeah, it's like the natural cycle of decay, because decay is actually healthy for the whole environment. Like it's like, oh, I love that shit.
I mean, that would also be a reason why that would feed off of the concept of like it perpetuating after like, you know, being given teeth. It's like, well, it's like it hasn't eaten for a while, so it's decaying, and that's probably a good thing. It's rotting, and
we should let it rot.
Yeah.
We should let it die.
That's right. So that makes it a +3 with those clues.
Yep, +3.
How do we want to roll this?
I feel like I vote Damien rolls it because Damien's taking charge here.
Yeah, I feel like Damien's got the moment.
Oh no. Okay. All right, we're rolling, folks. Oh, it's a 7. I rolled 2
Squeaking
2s,
by.
y'all. Just like right under the fucking door.
Holy shit.
Maybe let's do sort of a montage here of sort of closing scenes here, and then we're gonna cut to epilogues, and we'll do stars and wishes. So I know I've pretty much been running this by by me just saying, cool, what does that look like the whole time? But that's the joy of the writer's room kind of game. And you've set up so much. Maybe starting with Damien and Rowan, we can kind of cut back and forth. I'm just going to let you all free for all it. But how do we see this come together?
I think the question is first, do we make it out of the pond? The swimming hole?
I mean, I think you do, right? You succeed. There's going to be some lingering something. Maybe you don't escape unscathed, is what I'm thinking, and maybe that could be an epilogue way you bring that back.
I'm gonna defer to Rowan. What is Rowan's next move once we actually get out from being pulled down?
That is a great question. I think that I see us like walking this like circuitous route back to the house. We're like soaked, the fire is still blazing, like spewing this like black smoke into the air. And Rowan opens their mouth and coughs and realizes their voice has returned.
Aww.
And maybe we're holding hands.
Oh,
I
we're
guess
holding
like
hands.
yeah, Rowan
we're
would be
holding
like
hands.
very, very
100%.
close to you, like leaning on you as though they like need your support to walk, even though they're fine, really. They just
Emotional
the
support.
warmth is nice. And they say, well, if we're gonna do this, maybe we lean into not doing anything right, and maybe we just burn it all down. Maybe Isaac was right. And they look very pained to say that.
Yeah, Damien looks equally pained when they say that. Like, well, we are really good at fucking things up.
Let's
So
fuck it
some
up.
things up. Let's fuck it up. I think that's when we shift to Rosemary and Isaac.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I'm just kind of like stuck in the mental image of it feels very like one of the last shots of a movie where it's just sitting on a porch watching a burning forest until like with like eyes set forward and like concern, and then seeing Damien and Rowan coming out of the trees eventually. I feel like it would be like stock fucking silent until then. They're just like sitting there though. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I feel like Rosemary would just be sobbing.
And like Isaac
crying
is like arm around her, like holding her, but he's just like looking forward at the tree line, and occasionally he's just like muttering like, come on.
Yeah, I don't think that there would be much like in the way of conversation. I think like there's clearly always been like some contention between the two of them, but like in this moment, like they're kind of like, she's like crying and clearly very like emotional, and he's kind of accepting that that's a side of her, and equally like she's kind of leaning into the responsibility that he wants to take on, and not trying too hard to be like as put together, and I think it just kind of is just like the two of them just kind of like watching and waiting and hoping, and I think she just kind of says, like, I think she just kind of says as they walk out of the forest and she can see them, not everything has to be perfect. And like it's almost like a revelation to her.
And then by extension, it's almost a little bit of a revelation to him, but he doesn't comment on it further. He just looks at her and then looks back out at them, you know.
That's pretty good. Yeah, go ahead.
I was like, I think I think that's like the my thought is, and Elle, correct me if you think there's something more interesting here, is going and sitting by Isaac and Rosemary and watching the fire spread until it gets up to the house, and then that's kind of where we cut.
Mm-hmm.
What, or do you think there's some, or do we set fire to the house on purpose?
Maybe it's catching like brush that's fallen along the garden path, and it's just making a
Just-
path towards the house.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's sick.
Yeah, I like cutting there and just letting the fire do its thing.
I think the Harlows will just watch the house burn.
Yep.
Love that scene. If everyone's happy with that, we can cut to epilogues. You know, could be a small amount of time later, could be much later. I don't know. I feel like a medium amount of time later would be interesting, maybe.
Medium amount of
I
time.
mean, sorry, that's so vague. I mean, years later, I don't know. Months later. I guess where do we see, I guess maybe where do we see the characters in the future, and what signs do we see of like, not to be like it's not over, but I don't know. Are there any things that linger with you from the house? Are there any signs that you are, you know, you're still part of the family? You still come from a strange legacy.
I'll go.
Yeah.
I think that we cut to maybe a year or two later for Rosemary, a little bit of time later. And I think that she is sat in a quite nice house, and I think she's kind of just sitting back, and there's a picture frame nearby of perhaps her, Isaac, Damien, and Rowan as children, and she's got it kind of out like proudly on display, and she's just kind of looking at it absent-mindedly. And then you kind of hear in the background the sound of a door like opening, and you hear a voice call out of just like, "Hey, I'm home," and it kind of like sweeps down, and you see that the wedding ring is back on, and she kind of like gets up and goes to embrace who we would recognize from her flashbacks and things to be Felix. And I think I think they have a conversation. He probably references like gum disease jokingly. And because of course that's what caused him to lose his tooth, and he's like make some joke of like, "You still love me," and she's kind of like smiling and laughing about it, and I think like I think that like as she kind of like holds him, and she kind of like holds him close, I think she kind of looks up at the mirror and smiles like at her own reflection because she's happy, and her own teeth are just a little like, they're not perfect anymore. They're just a little like, it's like one is askew, one is like a little like cracked or rotted or something, and it's just not, but it's still, she's happy, you know.
I'll go, I guess. I think we see Isaac much in his normal environment, although he has a bit more graying at the temples of his hair. That could either mean it's been a while or it's simply just stress. But there is a slight passage of time that's implied here. I think he is largely like working, and it's in his restaurant, and the place he had previously talked about, and I think that not a lot is being said in this scene. It's just a lot of him like working and going through the motions of things pretty standard. But I think it's evident to those watching that there's kind of like this less like overbearing, over like trolling like nature, like very less anal about all of these things. It just seems to be a bit more like relaxed and trusting in others, like not like that he's not like taking it all on him. Which is like kind of like letting things like flow. And I think he like checks his watch, and it steps out into like his like office in the back of the restaurant, because it's making time for himself to like keep him healthy breaks on work. He noticeably doesn't seem as like closed in and cold. He just kind of is more just generally like, I think he's maybe just like wearing like a t-shirt. It's a pretty casual day for him to be in the back. And he has like this little like to-go container that he just grabbed from the line to just like grab food, put it in to have his lunch. So he's checking emails, going through like Excel documents, scheduling stuff, business stuff. And he takes like a spoonful and eats it, and then we hear a crunch, and he like stiffens slightly, and he just like he reaches up into his mouth and he pulls out a tooth and he just looks at it.
And I think we actually cut from that tooth to the tooth of a deer, a defleshed skull. And we pan out, and it's a taxidermist's shop, and Damien, gloved, uniformed, he's working. He's working at this place. There's other mounted heads, clearly like waiting for their owners to come pick them up. And he already has the skin stretched over the form. You don't keep the bodies in taxidermy unless you're doing a skull mount, and even then you don't keep most of the bones. But this is just a regular taxidermy, but he still has this body, this head, and he reaches over and grabs these dental tools and just starts yanking out the teeth and putting them in a little jar. And he has this jar. It's not going to the client.
Amazing.
And I think that before, the siblings hadn't really heard from Rowan very often because they didn't think anyone wanted to hear from them. But since this whole thing at the house, they stay in touch a little better now. And occasionally, the other siblings will come home to find a gift box on their doorstep, with a simple note that says, "Made you a gift." And I'm sure Damien would love these because Rowan is still working at a taxidermy shop as well, which is a step forward given their patchy work history. So I think Isaac gets a wolf's head, an animal that can see well in the darkness.
Elle, you're really quiet.
Yeah, you dropped a little bit.
Hello, hello, hello.
You're super quiet.
How about now?
There you go.
Better? Okay.
I heard the part about the wolf's head.
Yes. So Isaac gets a wolf's head, an animal that can see well in darkness. Damien gets a little baby chick with like a ribbon tied around its neck, like a bow tie, just for fun, something a little cute. And Rosemary gets a pair of lovebirds, and all of them have human teeth in their mouths.
Had to add that at the end. I will call my dentist up right after this. Amazing. Let's go to stars and wishes. And again, if anyone needs to go first, please feel free because of time.
I'm a yapper. Does anyone need to go first?
No, it's fine.
Okay, cool. Stars to everybody. Stars for everybody for playtesting this with us. Oh my gosh. 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10. You're all so fabulous. Oh my God. Stars for everybody for really leaning into that teeth shit. Oh, man alive. Just going around, stars Gabriel, fabulous, just letting us run with this shit and getting wild on it. Great pacing tonight. That was really, really good. You did a fabulous job. And you're just like kind of sneaking in with Aunt Letty's voice. That like was so good. I loved that shit. I was like, that felt palpable because like you very rarely had opportunities to voice NPCs, and every time you did, it felt really like
It can only be your scary relatives. That was all I had. So
exactly. And you were our scary relatives very, very well. And I loved our scary relatives. It was great. Alex, Isaac, that it absolutely fabulous. I liked you like just messaging me, I'm gonna do something crazy. And I was like, gonna do you yes, fabulous. I loved it. I loved it. I loved Isaac. I loved his whole thing. You played this really like intense, like he's very quietly intense, and every decision you made felt like it was an escalation of the last, and it was so, so good. Like just, and as always, you're fabulous to roleplay with. Just an absolutely delightful scene partner in these very intense scenes we did. That was really cool, and I loved that this escalation felt very natural. I feel like if we would have gone for multiple like more sessions, Isaac would have maybe like gone over some lines that were safe or for himself and others. So it's probably good we nipped that in the bud. Just joking, I would have loved to see that, but I really loved Isaac's arc. That was very fun, and the tooth at the end. Woo! Delightful. I love Rowan. Holy fuck. They're so weird. That get it once again, fabulous scene partner. That doing that scene in the water was so cool. That was like really, really fun. Rowan just felt really intense, even when you voluntarily got rid of their speaking voice. That was a really cool roleplay decision that was super powerful, and and that made your conversation with Rosemary on the notes even more just like I was on the edge of my seat. It was so good. Like that was a really cool decision. The teeth rotting, gift meaning like thinking it means gift and then it means sacrifice. Just and the gifts are so cute. The gifts are so cute. I love it. Damien would love it. I don't know about everybody else, but Damien thinks it's cool. Rosemary.
I don't know how Felix feels about that.
Right, God, Felix is like, oh God, your family is
Felix
weird.
Like, oh, you're weird family.
Like, what's wrong with you people? No, absolutely. Like, yeah, what a creepy family. Rosemary, oh my goodness, I'm so glad that she got a happy ending, and she like I feel like everybody got like the ending that felt very, very right. And like I said, that scene with like
Rowan.
yeah, shout out to Felix for staying with Rosemary despite all of us. Yes, correct, L. Like like that scene between Rosemary and Rowan was so intense and really, really good. Like I said, edge of my seat. You guys are fabulous. I loved it. And you are also a fabulous scene partner. You all are just absolutely delightful. Rosemary felt very authentically emotional. Like, yes, somebody should be crying right now. Shit's so crazy and bad. And it was really great. And this like wanting it to be good felt really right. Like everybody had these different ideas of it, and Rosemary's idea of it felt very authentic. And you finding your little stuffed animal in the ground, that was like that was really great, and just I loved it. Everybody did so fabulous. It was delicious, 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 delicious. I loved it.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna absolutely just, well, first of all, star being Gabriel for making this game and inviting us to play it. No, the gift bit was fucked me up. The gift sacrifice thing, that was really cool. That was rad as hell. Also disgusting teeth geyser, whatever moment that was by the altar, just the cascade of falling teeth. Awful, terrible. Loved every second of it. Yeah, fuck. I really like the Damien and Rowan confrontation at the end there. And also the moment with Damien and Isaac, specifically B saying like, I would basically just, reminiscing about like not being sure if we're good things. That was a great moment. And yeah, just also y'all were rolling with the punches on me setting everything on fire. No, that was a lot of fun. I really particularly enjoyed seeing how everyone's stories wrapped up, and I felt pretty satisfied with it.
Yeah, I'm also feeling really satisfied with how everything came together. I think that's a testament to both Gabriel and B's writing and Gabriel's facilitation. And yeah, I think everyone's willingness to build on the motifs and themes that other people were introducing, like made for a really cohesive story that feels like it has some real weight to it. So I wanted to thank everyone for that. Yeah, I thought all the family secrets were like super, super cool and added some like really interesting new layers to the story that really helped like scaffold the answering of questions in a fun way. Um, I love the scene with Damien and Isaac. Like the push was like crazy. But you're crazy for that one. It was amazing. Isaac setting fire to the woods was also fantastic, and I love the way that choice like shaped the entire like climax of the story. And yeah, I had a lot of fun in the scene with Rosemary and Rowan, and the way that Rosemary was like torn between what she desperately wanted to believe and what she like felt and kind of knew was true was like really well played by you, Kat. Um, yeah, great time. Thank you, everybody.
I'm probably going to just end up echoing a lot of what has already been said. But I'm going to just say, like, I really enjoyed the vibe of the game, just being like, if in doubt, teeth. That was like, if in doubt of how to make this more fucked up, let's just add some more teeth. The teeth NATO thing going on. I was like, well, we've reached new heights here. Yeah, teeth, that should be a film. That should be a film, I've decided. It does, I'm a write it. I enjoyed I really enjoyed that we took a motif and we really stuck with it, and we just plugged it in as much as possible. I love that people started coming up with wordplay as they kind of went through it, and I was like, people talking about being rooted, and I was like, like teeth root. Anyway, I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed, Gabriel, your facilitation. I liked that you came in, and when we were like getting into like role play, you'd be like, hey, mechanics of the game, here's what you can do to kind of like add to the scene. I really appreciated that. I really enjoyed like the pacing, as we said. I think it was a very satisfying ending, and it was nice to have like different epilogues for the characters as well. B, with the Damien pushing someone and killing them, what the fuck. But in the best way. Rosemary didn't get huge amounts of scene time with Damien, but I felt like it was still like very clear what their dynamic was, which I kind of really enjoyed that. Like they didn't necessarily need it. I really enjoyed being a scene partner with Rowan today, and that whole like passing the note back and forth, that felt like a really good like conversation, and I just honestly felt like I was like, oh, Elle is getting completely where Rosemary's headspace is at right now, and that was like really fruitful for me. I also enjoyed the end with just like, I enjoyed the end scene of just like Rosemary sobbing, Isaac with his arm around her, them just waiting for the other two to come out, and then like just the fire like consuming everything. I thought that was such a cool like ending for us. So yeah, I thought that was an excellent game. I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed playing with all of you.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun playing with you all. This was really, really fun. It was really, really challenging. You know, everyone did such a great job building on the prompts and getting so weird and then getting weirder and then getting weirder. So it was a fun challenge to be kind of bouncing between what everyone was putting on the table and the stuff that we thought was scary when we wrote it. So, and I'd really appreciate, you know, stars to everyone for fully embracing that very loose writer's room approach to this game. I think it's also challenging to play, I imagine, with all the flashbacks. So like sometimes we're dealing almost more with like things that happened at a different time than the present. So there's just all kinds of trying to pull threads together, and everyone did a really great job making things connect thematically and pacing it and kind of building to a conclusion. The game probably wants more sessions than 3, so I know we were definitely pushing it. And I also really appreciate seeing how much depth we got with all the characters in just a few sessions. Everyone managed to have scenes with each other, and like every scene felt like it really counted and really went somewhere. So that was just really, really great to see, and just stars to everyone as a player for doing that. Which is, I think, in future runs of this, I would still love to get to see more of. Like we tried to get to some PvP stuff and it didn't quite happen, but it was still there in the story, and that was fine. But it'll be interesting to see if mechanically that matters as much, if there's more to play with there. You know, we used a lot of the moves. There's still, I think, more that could happen with more time, but it's a playtest, and I learned a lot. I really, really appreciate everyone's time and input and enthusiasm, and we're just going to keep refining it and making it better. So yeah, anything to add on those notes?
Thank you for running.
Yeah, thanks for playing. Thanks so much, everyone. Let's wave bye to the camera. Stop our recording there. All right.